Hey cats, what's happening? Let's get down to business today. We're going to talk about the top 10 places or things that bikers do when they go to the Sturgis rally. So if you've never been there, this can be interesting. So if you've ever thought about riding your motorcycle out to the Sturgis rally, this will really help you plan your agenda for your trip. The number one destination or trip you're going to take is to see Mount Rushmore. The iconic carving of the presidents in the side of the mountain. It's well worth the trip. Now remember, this is a national park. And although there's no entrance fee, they call it a parking fee. So whether you're on a motorcycle or a car, it's going to cost you $10 to get in there. I would suggest you make this a good part of your day because there's a lot to see there and it's interesting. Of course, you have the presidents that you can see carved in the rock. Presidents George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. When you go into the place, there's a big plaza. There's a lot to do there. There's a museum that kind of explains the history of the whole thing. There's some really cool pictures, videos, things you can do there. They do have some food there, ice cream and stuff. And the plaza is really nice just to hang out in. There's some nice views and photo ops there for the monument itself. And then if you're into hiking, there's some trails that'll take you even up more close and personal to the actual monument itself. So that's a number one checkout. Not too far from there, a little bit of a drive though, is the Crazy Horse Monument. The Crazy Horse Monument's pretty cool, but I will tell you this. To get in there, it's privately owned, so it's not a national park or anything like that. It is the carving in the mountain. It's actually a whole part of the mountain that's carved in. It's Chief Crazy Horse, part of the Oglala Lakota tribe, and it's pretty phenomenal to see. But if you want to go in, actually go into the place, it's going to cost. If you're on a motorcycle, it's $7 a person to get in there, so it's going to cost you $14 to get in there. Once you get in there, I think there's a gift shop, and there's an overlook where you can look out, and there's some history of the Crazy Horse Monument itself. But for me, I can see it from the road. There's some nice vistas or viewpoints of it where you can pull over and get some photo shots of it too. But still, it's a pretty good destination to check out. Number 2 on the list. My number 3 recommendation when you're in the Black Hills area at the Sturgis Rally is to ride the Needles Highway. Now give yourself a little bit of time to do this. If it's a nice day, it can be pretty congested with bikes, but it's an awesome ride. Scenic, beautiful. It'll wind and twist through the hills, and it'll take you up through the Needles, where you're going to see the cathedral spires, their big jagged rocks sticking up. And there's actually a place where you go through this little narrow tunnel you ride right through. That gets pretty congested and heavier traffic. Give yourself plenty of time if you're going to do that route. Number 4 is Iron Mountain Road, which again is similar. Iron Mountain Road will take you through some tunnels and some pretty neat scenery. One of the tunnels you go through, it actually frames in the Mount Rushmore Memorial as you come out of the tunnel. Pretty cool. Well worth it. If you like canyons, there's a lot of canyon runs and canyon rides. Now the canyons are a lot of twisties, and you can either go up or you can go down. It's a lot of fun, and there's some like rushing mountain streams there. It's just beautiful. They're fun to do too. Spearfish Canyon is on my list for number 5. I would recommend the Spearfish Canyon run, but there are some other canyons too. So if you're going to run canyons, make that a good part of your day. Now this one's always a favorite of mine. Number 6, is Custer State Park. And in Custer State Park, there's the wildlife loop. Now before you go to Custer State Park, I want you to stop at a grocery store and pick up a bag of carrots. I'll tell you why later. When you get to Custer State Park, there's going to be a fee. I think it's $10 for a motorcycle to get in. And you're going to want to look for the wildlife loop. The wildlife loop, I think, is about 18 miles all the way around. But it has like a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit, so you're just going to kind of go slow. And again, it can be a little congested if it's a nice day and there's a lot of bikes there. But it's well worth the trip. Why is it called the wildlife loop? Because there's a huge herd of free-roaming buffalo there that it may be even broken into different groups of buffalo, but they are free-roaming, which means they go anywhere they want, which could mean that they're standing in the middle of the road. They can be right on the edge of the road. You'll know that they are very, very dangerous animals, though. They cannot be approached. A lot of people have been severely injured, gored, even killed by the buffalo. So you'll just want to give them a lot of respect when you're riding through the wildlife loop. Now, it's kind of a crapshoot when you go there whether you're going to run into them or not. Sometimes you'll see them a little farther off in the prairie, and sometimes they're going to be, boom, right there, where you have to actually try to figure out how you're going to get through them or how to get past them. Well worth it, though. It's like an experience you'll never forget, and it'll be at the top of your list. The other thing you're going to see in the wildlife loop, and this is where the carrots come in, there's wild burros that run freely through the park there. And they often hang out by the road, and the bikers and the tourists like to stop, and they love to eat carrots out of your hand. So you can actually feed the burros or the mules with the carrots. And I actually saw one guy stick the carrot in his mouth and hold it up there, and the mule ate it right out of his mouth. Although I wouldn't recommend that. These are wild animals, and they're unpredictable. So you have to use a little bit of caution around them. Number 7 on my list is Bear Butte. Now, it's not too far from Sturgis. You can actually, from some places in Sturgis, you can actually see it. And it's just a big mound or mountain there off to the east of Sturgis. It's a short ride, but there's some nice hiking there. You can hike all the way to the top of the butte and get some really decent views. So that's a fun thing to do, too. Number 8, if you're into gambling, and a really cool place to visit too, and again, plan on spending a good part of your day here, is Deadwood, South Dakota. They have casinos there, they have great food there, bike watching. I think there's a balcony there you can go up on from one of the casinos and looks down over the street and just watch all the motorcycles go by. So that's a fun thing to do too. Check out Deadwood. And bring some cash if you like to use slot machines or play the relay table or whatever flips your boat. Number 9 is the Devil's Tower. Now, the Devil's Tower, you're going to make a day out of that because it's in Wyoming. So you're going to have to ride all the way to get there. It's a beautiful ride, highly recommended. And again, that's a national park too. That one's a little expensive for a motorcycle. It's going to cost you $20 to get in there. You can't see it from the road, though. So you might be able to pull off and just get a few shots of it without paying to actually go into the National Park Memorial, the Devil's Tower there. But if you're into the history of the thing and everything, I recommend paying the $20. Go on in there, get the whole experience of the Devil's Tower up close and personal. It's really cool. Also, while you're out that way, you can find Hewlett, Wyoming, and that's a pretty wild place for bikers, too. So make that part of your Devil's Tower run, Hewlett. Now, number 10 on my list of things to do, and this is a little ways away from the Sturgis Rally, and you may hit it before you come into it, or you may hit it on your way out, the Badlands National Park. There's a $15 fee for a motorcycle to get into the park, and the views and the vistas are just incredible. It's almost spiritual going in there, the beauty of the place. But the Badlands is one of the most iconic, gorgeous, natural areas that you can find in the United States, aside from the Grand Canyon or some of the other Zion arches. you got to check out the Badlands. If you've never been there before, you won't regret it. So there's my top 10 things to do when you go to the Sturgis Rally on your motorcycle. If you've ever thought about riding to Sturgis, South Dakota for the motorcycle rally, now's the time to start planning. And these tips are really going to help you decide, I'm going. Aside from anything else you do, that will mark your trip as one you'll never forget. Until next time, cats, ride hard and die free.